Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday, July 6th, 2022, and this is What's Happening Dracut. We are coming to you live from our overly ostentatious studios here located on Mill Street in Dracut, Massachusetts. We have an exciting show for you tonight. I'm your host, John Zimini, and we're going to keep this show moving fast. We've got a lot of things to talk about, both on the local, state, and national scene. And even though it's summertime and it's slumber time for Dracut, we still have issues out there. We're still going to be talking about the issues that are at hand. So tonight on our show, we have our regular Cub reporter, Ace Cub reporter, who is now sporting a freshly coiffured haircut.
Ooh, John, look at you.
Richard Silvio.
Hey guys, how's it going, John?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Fine. Well, this is really an advertisement,
What is it for?
So a military haircut, right? Tonight, you're going to see a fantastic interview with our new veteran service officer, Dave Camposano.
Military haircut and Dave Camposano. Wow.
Absolutely, it works out.
And where's Dave from? Do you know?
He is from, I believe it was Norwood.
Norwood. Oh, that's a hike.
Well, did you hear about Norwood actually on the news the other day?
No.
Disney's going to be making a movie in Norwood.
Oh, really?
A Halloween movie, oh yeah.
Oh, it's probably going to be a woke movie, right?
What else could it be?
If it's going to be anything else, it's going to be a woke movie.
I'm sure it'll be a lesbian, transgender, black werewolf
God.
who goes on the hunt to find her true identity.
There'll be two avatars kissing each other somewhere along the line.
Absolutely.
Hey, we have with us in the house tonight former candidate for Dracut Selectman and our resident architect here at in What's Happening Dracut, Phil Thibault, in the house. Actually, in the house. How are you, Phil?
Very well. Thank you for not taking my name off the marquee.
What's been going on?
Oh, just living the dream here in Dracut, working hard and stirring the pot.
You're telling me you're on vacation this week.
So I'm on a technical vacation, which means I go into the office a few hours late in the morning, work through lunch, and then leave.
Still trudging along.
You
right?
do. As a business owner, you need to keep up on things, and I would take more time off if I had specifically something to do, but it's just kind of a relaxed state.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I'm in a state of I don't know what you call it. I guess slumber, because it's summer. And I'm trying to, relax a little bit. I'm not doing Uber as much as I was. But we do have in the house tonight our friend, our special school committee person, Rebecca Duda.
All right.
She came back.
I came back, John.
You actually came back.
Yes, why not?
I guess I didn't piss you. I mean, I guess I didn't say enough to you to scare you away.
There's always time.
No, you need a voice of reason on the show.
Oh my God! Yeah, right. You and Kevin O'Brien we want to put you in that kind of
No.
In that, we're only joking. Right?
I enjoyed being here. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing
How's your
good.
summer going?
Summer's going very well.
You had a little time off.
I had some time off. Yep.
And you're the head of Family Services or something for
the Family Resource Center
for the
Lowell Public Schools.
You got a great compliment last night at the dinner club.
Oh, really?
Even though you weren't there. Usually when you're not at the dinner club, people kick the crap out of you, But when you're there, when you're not there, last night for you, you had some good compliments from some people there.
Oh, that's nice.
You were missed, actually, wasn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
She was missed. And one of the comments were that particular resource center was in a shambles prior to you getting there. And that people don't mind going there. Of course, you did downgrade it a little bit when you took an intern on by the name of Richard Silvio.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
But we'll forgive you for that.
I know.
But Richard's got to learn some way. He's got to learn the
Exactly.
ropes.
We all have to begin somewhere, right, John?
Right. We all began somewhere,
That's
right?
Oh, God.
Well, that was nice.
So good. We'll get into some talking about school committee stuff. and
Absolutely.
You can join in the conversation on that. But we just wanted to let you know that you could join us live on Facebook, which we're broadcasting right now, and we'd love you to go to our Facebook page and like us, and follow us, or whatever they call it. We also have an Instagram account that I haven't really been up on too much, but we're going to try to push that a little bit. And we also are on YouTube, right?
Yes.
And
that's
Gordy's not here tonight because Gordy is officiating at summer basketball. I don't know why summer basketball is more important than WHD. Do you?
That seems like only something he could answer. Maybe we can have him call in later on.
Well, we can kick the crap out of him now because he's not here, right? Right, Phil? We can
Right.
kick the crap
Just
out
like
of
dinner
him
club.
because he's not here. But yeah, he's summer officiating summer basketball, youth basketball, I believe it is. But you can join us on Facebook. You can also join us live by going to DracutTelevision.org or DracutTV.org. I always get that screwed up. And it's DATV, and we're here every other Wednesday, but we've kind of been fluxing in and out the last couple of weeks.
If I may interrupt you
Sure.
quickly, Jim Flynn made a comment,
Sure.
and I'm back.
You're back.
Kind of reminds me of the John Wick movie. People have been asking if I'm back. Well, I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
gosh.
Bob Hoey, your biggest fan,
Yes.
is watching. Great guy, Bob Hoey.
Hi, Mr. Hoey.
Bob Hoey's done, he's on City Life with John McDonough.
Yes.
And we got to get you on City Life with us
Yes.
one of these days, And we have fun on City Life with John McDonough and the boys. And we're just happy to be here tonight, right? So before we go any further, we need to tell the folks out there that
Oh,
they can
God.
join us by calling in.
Absolutely, they can.
And what's the number?
Oh, God, hang on. 978-957-4243.
You're better than me. I have to look at
Bingo!
my notes to get
Bingo!
it. But
Bingo!
yeah, that's good. Call in
So
if
who's
you
paying
want.
for my dinner tonight?
Not me.
Oh, short arms and long pockets.
And he did it without the Chiron, too. I'm just surprised.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
I would do that.
So we're approaching 2,400 followers on our Facebook page, which is a good thing, right? But those are real followers. Those aren't phony followers.
I was going to say, do we know how many the other side has?
Oh, you don't
Because I
even
know
care.
I know on the website they have upwards of 10, 20,000 views.
I don't even care. I don't even care about them anymore. I don't care about any of them. But before we go any further, we have our resident weatherman from Mill City Weather, Sean Kelly, for the forecast for Dracut in the area. Take it away, Sean.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on once again tonight. Here's the forecast for tonight. Low temps near 60 degrees with partly cloudy conditions. Winds won't be that bad either, 5 to 10 miles an hour. And then as we head into tomorrow, more of a refreshing breeze will move in. Dew points are going to be on the lower end, so it won't feel like it was today muggy. Tomorrow's going to be more refreshing with high temps in the 80s tomorrow, 82 degrees for a high temp tomorrow. Some locations around 85 degrees with partly sunny conditions. And then as we head into tomorrow night, there is a chance for a few thunderstorms. Not expecting anything severe right now, at least, with low temps in the middle 60s for tomorrow night. Winds are going to be on the higher end of 10 to 15 miles an hour. And then as we head into Friday, there is a chance for a few more thunderstorms, probably in the first part of the day, and expecting it to clear out as we head into the second part of the day. So not a washout by any means, but there is a chance for a few thunderstorms in the first part of the day on Friday with high temps near 80 degrees. And then as we head into Friday night, clear conditions with low temps near 60 degrees, 59 degrees for us back here in Dracut for Friday night. And here's a look at your exclusive 8-day forecast. So again, partly cloudy conditions, maybe some sun tomorrow, 82 degrees for a high temp. And then once we head into the weekend, high temps near 80 degrees for Saturday and Sunday. And really next week, we're really going to start to warm it up with high temps near 90 degrees as we head into next Tuesday. And that is a forecast for now, everyone. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that great weather forecast. I mean, isn't it been great weather?
Oh, we've had terrific run of weather.
Absolutely.
I mean, what happened to global warming?
I don't know, but it's been very comfortable. I mean,
Very
it's certainly
much
been
so.
in the low 80s and such, but typically it's been dry. Well, it's been very dry lately around
Yeah,
here.
we don't want the drought. We want
Yeah,
we
but
want
it's
the
been
rain
nice. It's been
occasionally.
very good weather.
Only at night we want it to rain, but after tubby time. Can't rain. Last night I couldn't go in the tub. I didn't go in the
Well,
tub.
John, for the fantastic weather, you know who we can thank for that?
Who?
My mother. Do you know why?
Why?
She bought a bracelet that said by buying this bracelet, you save 1 pound of plastic from the ocean.
Oh.
I think she single-handedly solved global warming.
She's one of those people that are saving the turtles. The sea
Absolutely.
turtles, right? And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And we're not making fun of that because
No,
that
not
is
at
a
all.
real serious problem. People
yeah.
are pigs. People throw things in the ocean and throw
Oh,
things
yeah.
at the beach. You go to the beach and it's like
It's all trash.
you got to be careful what you're walking on because you could step on one of those pop tops from a beer can or whatever, and it's
Even hypodermic needles are popping up.
it's
in beaches.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to congratulate a couple people tonight. But before we get into that, there's a special event coming up with the police department. Do you know what that is?
They're having a safety night, I
Right.
believe, at Veterans Park, correct?
Right, and that's going to happen on July 21st.
July 21st.
From 5 to 7:30, and the chief and his minions down at the Dracut Police Department are welcoming all of Dracut to come. Have you ever participated in
I
any
have
of those?
not, but I think I'll make a point of it this year.
It's not associated with National Night Out either.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
Will people be doing the safety dance with them?
The safety dance?
Yeah, you remember the song?
You
the
might have to
safety dance?
demonstrate
Yeah.
this to us, Phil.
Yeah, from the 1980s.
Now
Yeah.
you opened that door for
Yeah.
the safety dance.
It was a
Safety
song.
dance.
It was a song. It wasn't a dance. It was a song.
Yeah, it was a song.
Do you
The
remember
only
the song?
songs I remember from the 60s is Hello Mother, Hello,
Hello,
Father.
Father.
Here I am at Camp Granada.
Who sang that?
Alan Sherman.
Alan
absolutely.
Sherman, that's right.
Absolutely.
That's
He
right.
had a bunch of good hits,
He
believe it
did,
or not.
he did.
Oh, yeah.
Of course you would know
I
that.
have him on LP.
You do?
I have LPs of him,
Oh
absolutely.
my goodness. Well, listen, we have a big congratulations going out to new fire department captain Kevin Bigold. You know Kevin?
I do.
Great guy.
And it's fantastic that he's now a captain.
That's unbelievable. I'm so happy for him. Congratulations. And we have a retirement coming up, and we want to push that because this guy is one of the great guys of the Dracut Fire Department. Romeo Demers.
Yep.
Do you know Romeo?
No, I don't
Oh, you
know.
got to meet Romeo Demers. He's retiring, and I think today might have been his last day.
I'm
Clem
not sure.
Canole is watching, and Clem, maybe you can just give us a little update on when his retirement is. Clem Canole retired some time ago. Another great guy, another great Dracut firefighter who's now a faithful watcher of what's happening Dracut. Most of the fire department key in on us.
And how many years has Romeo served?
Romeo,
32.
32
Wow.
years.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
And if we had the picture ready for him, we could have put him up here. But go ahead, tell us a little bit about the time.
Absolutely. So the retirement party is going to be at Lindsay's on August 31st. It's a buffet dinner from 2 to 7 p.m.
31st?
21st.
21st.
Oh,
Okay.
August 21st at Lindsay's, 2 to 7 p.m. buffet dinner. Lindsay's is at 810 Merrimack Ave, right here in town. And the tickets are $25.
And if I were you, at least this panel, you better get your tickets early because this is a popular guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably going to sell out, and he's a good guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, from 2 to 7, that kind of a party, Romeo. I hope you're going to have some Ubers ready to take you home, right?
He's a great guy, and he's full of energy.
He's full of energy and loves to have a good time. So we wish Romeo a lot of luck in retirement, and we hope that he has a great retirement party. I'll be there for sure. I also want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Carol Morowski. Carol's having a little bit of battle with cancer. And she went into the hospital today, I'm told. I spoke with Moose for a brief time. She has a little infection going on. She's had her first round of chemo, and she's got to go back in. She goes in for 5 days, and then 21 days later, she goes in for another 5 days. So she had her first round last week, I think, or a week and a half ago. And she was doing very well, and she got a little infection. So she's in the hospital. We send our thoughts and prayers to the Morowski family, particularly Moose and his sons and daughters and her sons and daughters. Get well soon, Carol. We want to. You got to keep Moose going, buddy. You got to keep Moose going. So, what's going on with the new Dracut Veteran Services Officer?
Absolutely. So, as many of you know, Jeff Hollett was our veteran service officer for quite a few years, and he recently moved on to, I think it was Haverhill. He was very involved with the community. He'd helped out with the veterans parades, and he helped me with the World War I monument. It would have been impossible without him, of course. But he's moved on to greener pastures, so now we have Dave Capasano, who came in as our new veteran service officer. And being as involved with the community as I am, I knew I would have to go in and interview him, which I did earlier this afternoon at the Council of Aging Center. So we had that interview all keyed up as a Dracut Chronicles special. So if you'd like to go to that, you're going to love it.
So that Clem Canole, he tells us on our Facebook page that Romeo is retiring in mid-August.
Oh.
After 32 years, and best wishing to Elvis. I guess he likes to act as Elvis. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
Well, we're ready. So
So you're going to show that little interview that we had you had
Oh,
this
yeah.
afternoon.
We're gonna
So
roll it. Yeah.
take it away.
Yeah. What's happening, Dracut? My name is Richard Silvio, here with another episode of Dracut Chronicles. I'm currently joined with David Camposano, the new Veteran Service Officer of Dracut. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hey, Richard, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, Dave, let's get started. Tell me, who is Dave Camposano?
Dave Camposano is a veteran. He's a father, a brother, and a VSO.
Well, God bless you. Absolutely. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So, Dave, do you come from Dracut?
I don't. I actually grew up in Norwood, and I currently live in Millis.
So how did you hear about the positioning opening up in Dracut? What made you want to come to our little cow town compared to all the other cities and towns in the state?
I actually found it online, and Ann ended up inviting me in for an interview, and yeah, that's all she wrote.
And here you are.
Here I am. Yep.
So did you know Jeff Hollett at all? Our old VSO?
I did not know Jeff, no, and Jeff's a great guy, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I've worked very closely with Jeff for the World War I rededication we did for Hovey Square. I know he is involved with Bethany Lovelace, and he helped her with the Veteran Parade in the past. And, of course, he does the countless flag planting at gravesides in town. So do you plan on continuing this tradition, or is there anything new you plan on adding, or...?
Absolutely, yeah. So Jeff's filled me in on the brick program, the flag program. We're starting to get the ball rolling on that. Just a few, hiccups, things that I need to learn. As far as new things, I'm not sure yet. I know that we have the breakfasts here, a monthly veterans breakfast. I've been thinking about implementing either a Monday or Friday morning physical fitness for senior veterans, people who have already been out of the military, or people who are deciding that they want to join the military to come in. You do like a 5-mile run or some PT. So I may implement that in September.
Now, are you familiar at all, of course I have to give a plug right here, are you familiar at all with local PEG stations, in this case DATV?
I'm not, nothing but more than from what you've told me. Yep.
Oh, you know what I think would be a fantastic idea for a new project? Perhaps you could come down and start a show and talk with veterans and talk about veteran affairs.
You name the time and the place, I'll be there.
Absolutely. So tell me, for people out there, because the role of VSO, Veteran Service Officer, isn't really widely known among the citizens of various towns, so what does that role basically consist of?
The Veteran Service Officer, or I call myself the Director of Veteran Services, is essentially the person who helps veterans transition from active duty to the civilian world. So they'd come see me, I could help them get benefits, because every person who served in the military, when they get out, they get a check. I'm not going to say how much that is, but they do get a check. And you are also entitled to benefits. I can help you get your Veterans Administration benefits. I can help you get your GI Bill. And then there's some other benefits that everyone's entitled to, such as if you're disabled, you can get real estate taxes, part of it taken care of. So, yeah, it's really important that when a veteran gets out of service, or is a veteran now and doesn't know, definitely come sees me, and I can help them figure out what they're entitled to.
Now, I know you also help the veteran families, correct? Because I know Jeff Hollett with the Veterans Park we have here in town, with the memorials we have there, the bricks on the ground, families can request those for their veteran family members. So it's not just veterans you help, it's also their families.
That's correct. That's correct. So like a spouse or a child of a veteran can come see me, and they can request a flag, they can request a brick, they can actually request benefits if they have the veterans paperwork. Yeah. Yep.
So now, are you also involved at all with the Dracut Legion, or the Sons of the American Legion, or the auxiliaries?
I'm in contact with them, but I haven't actually taken the next step yet. I'm about 6 weeks into the role, so I'm still trying to learn who everybody is. Yeah.
So do you like Dracut? What are your first thoughts?
You know what? Dracut's a good town. I heard about it back in high school when we wrestled, because we actually came up here to wrestle the Dracut wrestling team. I like the town. I really, love the people that work here and in the town hall. So that's like my initial impression of everybody. But yeah, I like it. I went out and bought a Dracut zip-up hoodie first thing, yeah, just so I could support the town. You know what I mean?
So do you plan with working with other local cities and towns to put stuff together, or?
I will, yes. I've been working with Chris in Tingsboro, just kind of learning the ropes, but I am looking forward to kind of collaborating with other towns to, extend, the relationships.
So now, is there anything else you want the people of Dracut to know about you, or anything else you feel like saying?
Yeah, so the reason I'm in this role is because you know, I did 16 years in the Army, and when I got out in 2016, many of my friends actually died by suicide. So I started a nonprofit called 22 Mohawks, and I learned very fast that my passion is helping veterans. So when I found out that this role was open, I jumped on it because that's what I want to do. I want to help veterans. So this is my life, taking care of veterans and helping veterans as best as I can, and that's what I plan on doing. Families of veterans, veterans in general, even active duty. I want to help them. That's just why I'm here.
So did you go from jumping out of the Army into becoming a VSO, or is there work you did before this? Were you involved with the municipalities beforehand, or?
I was not, no. So I, right when I got out of the Army, I finished my degree in finance and worked in the finance world for, since I got out of the military. So it's funny that you bring that up because I've noticed working in the wealth management space and working with high net worth people, the wealth disparity is large, right? You have people that just make so much money, and then you have people that don't, i.e. some of the veterans, some of the senior veterans, from Vietnam, they're hurting. And it's eye-opening to see the difference in that. And I feel like so many people, if they know that these people need help, we can reach out to them and ask them, and then we can help our veterans,
So citizens in town, speaking of that, who may want to get involved and help veterans, what can they do? Can they reach out to you or their local Legion, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Reach out to the local Legion. We're about to start a Dracut Veterans Facebook page, so they can look at the Facebook page and share our posts, like when events come up. That's probably the fastest way to do it. I know some of the older people, they're not on Facebook and stuff, but that stuff will be posted in our newsletter as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure here at What's Happening Dracut, we'll be happy to share that Facebook page on our page as well.
Absolutely, yep.
Are there any final thoughts you have?
No, hey, if you're a vet, come see me. If you're a veteran family, come see me if you have any questions. But no, that's really it. I appreciate you having me, Richard.
Absolutely. So my name is Richard Silvio. I'm here with David Camposano, the new Veteran Service Officer for Dracut. This has been What's Happening Dracut, Dracut Chronicles. Good night, everybody.
Welcome back, folks. That was Richard Silvio's interview of the new Veteran Services Director.
Absolutely.
So any thoughts after you interviewed him?
So, I really do genuinely think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Where he hasn't done any municipal work in the past, I do think he kind of jumped into this without too much of an expectation of what it's going to be, but I think that's a great thing. He has zest, he's going into it, he's going to be active, and I can't wait to see what him and I can do together.
Oh, good.
I think this has opened up so many opportunity for the veterans in town. So
That's good. Now, your involvement with the veterans is pretty extensive, right?
Yeah, so I'm the vice commander of the Sons of the American Legion in town, which is pretty much a sect of the American Legion for
So
men
how does
who,
one become a son of the American Legion?
John, I'm so happy you asked.
Yeah, of course.
So to join the Sons of the American Legion, you have to be male. I'm pretty sure biological.
Why? Why is male?
Well, I can't tell you what a male is.
Oh, they have sisters, too.
They have the auxiliaries for
They
the
have the
girls.
auxiliary for
yes.
women,
So,
that's
and I can't sit here and define what a male is. I'm not a biologist.
Oh,
But,
come on.
So, yeah. So, you have
It's something to do with your chromosomes, right?
I
Or
won't get into
maybe you have the extra chromosome
never
and
know.
we don't know
You never
about
know.
it, but go ahead.
Well, no, so you have to be male, and either your mother, father, grandmother, or grandfather have to be a veteran.
And do you have to prove it?
Yeah, with the DD 242.
DD 242. Yeah,
And then you can just reach out to me. I'm all over Facebook.
Okay.
Most people know how to reach me.
Phil,
and I can set
are
that
you a
up.
member of that?
I am not.
You are not. Why not? Do you have any relatives on your past that?
My mother's father, my grandfather,
Okay.
was in the Navy for 32 years.
See, I
Oh,
just
you
I threw the hook
qualify.
out.
John.
I was a member
You
of
were.
the Sons.
And what happened?
Well, I moved.
Well,
but I
good.
was a
Now you can
member.
move right into the
Well,
Dracut.
we'll see.
And Rebecca.
You asked me to join the
auxiliaries, yeah.
auxiliary, yeah, because all of my grandfathers were in World War II.
There you
Oh,
go.
we're all going to have a little talk after,
That's
right. There you
after
go.
this show.
And Richard, I want to say your bench looks wonderful down at Hovey Square.
Thank you.
Does,
Yes, it does.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, that was all thanks to Steve Enos and the DPW. What a wonderful job those guys did.
Yep.
Really.
The DPW is a hardworking crew for,
Oh, yeah.
for Dracut. They
Yeah.
do a great job
They
on
do.
everything. They're really overworked, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
If they do things that should be contracted out, but they find a way of getting things done, and
yeah.
they're very good at it. And that's no short order to the members of that department. They do a great job. They really do. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Before I get into that, I wanted to make an announcement that we have a future show coming up on the 27th of July. We have gubernatorial candidate Chris Doty coming in to talk about the gubernatorial campaign and what he expects to try to accomplish if he should be the nominee for the Republican Party. Now, Mr. Doty is a self-made man, entrepreneur, and I'm not sure, but I think he's funding his campaign. So that's a big undertaking.
Wow.
Yes,
So
it
there's a
is.
lot of dedication to that. And then in the future, on the 17th of August, I partially confirmed today that Jeff Deal, who is a friend, I've known Jeff for a while. He was a representative down represented Abington at the State House, and I met him and I liked him and I got to know him pretty well, and I supported him when I was a voter down in the Abington-Whitman area. And he's coming in on August 17th, and then we hope to get his running mate, Leah Cole Allen, who is a former representative also.
Wow, that's a big deal.
So we have it is a big deal. Oh, he's quick on his feet today, folks. He's quick on his feet. So I wanted to get into a little bit about the rejection of the Board of Selectmen on the code of conduct that Tony Archinsky proposed. Can you give us a little bit of background on that from your perspective?
So Tony wanted to put after some of the behaviors that he had seen and how loose the meetings are run by Allison Genest, and how oftentimes her rulings seem to be ambiguous and capricious, if you want.
Yep.
He thought it would be a good idea to essentially follow a code of conduct that is essentially outlined by the state and other municipal organizations as a guideline. So he took it upon himself to gather those documents together, cobble them together. Essentially, it's almost boilerplate, and create a code of conduct that the Board of Selectmen and their appointees would have to follow.
So I have about 7 clips from that meeting. We didn't get to play them in the last show, and I promised that we would bring them up in this show, especially where things are a little quiet right now. We have a little bit more time to eschew all of this stuff, right? And so Richard and I sat down and we got some clips together. So we're going to ask our guys in the control room to show clip number 1, the video clip number 1 from the meeting past, where they rejected Tony's proposal on a 3-2 vote. Not surprising, by the way, on a 3-2 vote, where Jennifer has now become an official member of the Joe DeRocco tribe. So let's show clip number 1, Nate. Nate?
Oh, you know what?
What?
Because of the order of the previous videos, the numbers might be messed up. Give them the letters.
Oh, the letters? What letters? I don't know. Oh, it's Tony. It's the Tony clip. You got that? We should have numbered these better. Any luck, Nate? Just throw one up, Nate, and we'll
pick
discuss
one.
it.
Just run through them.
Colleagues conduct themselves professionally as well, from what I've seen. I'll repeat what I just said at the last meeting. The timing is suspicious. Mr. Archinsky has been on the board for 9 years. He never brought it forward before. Why not? And why now? He waited to bring this forward at the meeting after he didn't get elected to the chair. The timing is suspicious to me. This board doesn't, I don't judge members on this board, nor do I expect members on this board to judge me. We're judged every day from the voters who elected us. And I think that's what it is. I mean, I think if the voters think that we're not doing a good job or we're not acting professionally, they're not gonna vote us. There would be no bite in this. I mean, if, for instance, I don't think there's anything in there that would have prevented me from saying anything that I've said. And, to be judged by people, it could be personally, it could be politically, whatever it is, I don't think is appropriate. So myself, as I said before, I'm not going to vote for it, and that's probably the main reason. Every day, I look at myself, I look in the mirror, and I say, am I doing what the voters elected me to do? And I feel that I am. And that's why I've continued to run over the years.
Madam Chair, if I can just have the floor for 1 second, I'd like to answer Mr. Dracut. He mentioned my name in his remarks, so if you
Well,
could
it
just
is
give me 2
yours.
seconds.
1 second, guys, I understand. We haven't all spoken once yet. So if
Okay.
we could allow us to do that and then,
Okay.
Cuts him down, first of all, on wanting to respond, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, she just shut Tony down. at
Yeah,
that
it's,
point.
right, I mean, if she's trying to foster debate, she's just cut it down, or shut it down right there, because, I mean, you have one member, I mean, Tony presented it, just for the facts, and then Joe essentially attacks Tony over it. And so that should give Tony, by all rights, the ability to respond.
Which is typical of Joe DeRocco, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Joe DeRocco, for years, has gone after television shows here at DATV, not only this one, but others, and he's gone after anybody who he considers an adversary. And he uses the chambers, which is supposed to be a dignified place, right? And he uses the chambers to bash members of the community who speak out against him, right?
Yeah,
How many times has your name been mentioned? Endless.
More than I can count.
Yeah.
But there have been other members on other boards that he has done the same thing.
Correct.
And he has actually said in open session, they should remember who they work for. And they work for the town of Dracut. They don't work for the Board of Selectmen.
And they don't work for Joe DeRocco.
Absolutely not.
Right? I mean, he's mentioned my name dozens of times, which Joe and I have a history. Remember, I ran against him, or ran for the open seat that was vacated by Dennis Williams almost 20 years ago now. And when I ran, he tried to get me out of the race by saying that I told him I wouldn't run against him, which is an absolute lie. But then they proceeded to bash me like they normally do out of the Town Hall West, right? But the bottom line here is that Joe DeRocco wants to be able to use his bully pulpit to bully people. And that's what he does. You have a comment?
You know, John, he sits there and says he looks in the mirror every day.
Oh, God.
And he believes he does what the voters are telling him to, right? He must be looking in the DATV mirror installed by Brian Genest. Because I don't know how on earth you'd get the notion that he's doing what the people of Dracut actually want, right? And then he sits there and he basically says, I don't judge people, you fool. And gets away with it.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Yeah, and then he bashed Tony there a little
Pure
bit.
hypocrisy.
And then the height of hypocrisy. You have any comment that you like?
Well, codes of conduct are very standard. They're boilerplate, you know. Many organizations, schools have them for
Right.
students all over the place, so it's pretty standard.
As Phil says,
The mall. I mean, I walked in the Rockingham Mall. As a matter of fact, I was at the Pheasant Lane Mall earlier today, and sure enough, there was a code of conduct as you walk in.
Yeah, it's not, codes of conduct aren't controversial.
my question is, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? You afraid of being held to a standard
Yeah.
by that? So let's show the Tony clip next, or is it TA?
TA.
TA. Show the TA clip next. Hello?
After reviewing it, I honestly don't think it's necessary for our board. A lot of it talked about anti-harassment and anti-discrimination, and I just don't see that happening among us.
That's Jennifer
Kopczynski.
Kopczynski. I'm trying to forget her name. To be honest with you.
Newly incorporated onto the board.
Because she's just another puppet of Joe DeRocco's. She has not said or done anything to the contrary of what Joe or Allison wants, right? Isn't that what they wanted?
Absolutely. I mean, they wanted this whole policy to be disregarded, and stepping right into it. As a matter of fact, just referring to it as just another piece of paper.
Now, she's a lawyer, right? She's
So I'm told.
allegedly a lawyer. And don't they have standards to go by?
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, Any,
judged
any,
by-
any professional will have standards to go
Right.
by. I, as an architect, have a professional code of conduct I need
And
to
the Board of
maintain.
Bar Overseers really get into watching what an attorney does and says, not only in their professional life, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
I
Do they have to,
can't-
do they have to, they can't be in a position to lie and, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, most lawyers,
I was gonna say.
you know, they make stuff up as they go along, some lawyers anyway. Not all, but some. And of course, now I just got,
No, you.
I just got a
You
couple of
look
our
at
lawyer
that.
friends.
Yeah, we're gonna be ringing off the hook now.
Oh, boy. But anyways, yeah, so Jennifer has proven already herself to be a solid vote in their corner. So we have another clip coming up, so let's show the next clip and we'll talk about it as we just determine what it says.
Let's roll.
We follow the ethics rules and the Selectmen's Handbook. I think everything in here is covered. I don't disagree with anything in here that's in principle, but I just don't think we need another piece of paper that governs us when we're already covered by other documents.
All set? Okay. So I'm going to go next. I am going to vote against this because I see it as a solution looking for a problem. The town's operated for over 300 years without a code of conduct, and I also question the timing of this. As has already been discussed, we are regulated by ethics laws, we are regulated by open meeting laws, by MMA, by our Selectmen's Handbook.
You know, there's another one, right? She wants to be able to do whatever she wants to do and not, you know, be held to any standards whatsoever.
So she talks about, she finds the timing of this suspicious. And they try to blame Tony for bringing up now because, of course, he wasn't elected chairman. And he debunks that by saying, hey, I didn't want to be chairman, and with, I'll say this, with you bozos, I don't want to be chairman.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, her bringing up that the timing is suspicious, actually, Heather Santiago Hutchins, in last year's goals that Allison Janest asked for, Heather had put in a code of conduct.
Oh,
So the timing is not suspicious. Allison will just disregard anything that she doesn't want.
right. And you know, they have kind of marginalized, they try to marginalize Tony and Heather. And there's going to be, I think Heather has really blossomed in the last year and a half into where she's pushing back much more and doing things a little bit more with some fervent to push back with them and their antics. We have another clip coming up. Let's show that next clip.
And I see this as an unnecessary layer of even further regulation. And as far as the penalty section goes, we were not elected to play judge, jury, and executioner on our colleagues. So in preparation for tonight, I actually rewatched the May 24th meeting, and I have to say that I'm a little offended by your comments, Mr. Archinsky, to say that this board needs a reminder that we work for the public and that we need to maintain professional decorum. I, for one, do not need a reminder that it's the townspeople that put us here. I have never been anything but professional, and I have always made every vote and every decision with the townspeople in mind. In wanting our appointees to be accountable to this code, we have talked a lot about volunteerism over these past few months. And if we want to stifle volunteerism, then adopting this code is the way to do it. As far as I am aware, we have had only 2 appointees that were made by the previous town manager that have needed to be spoken to about their behavior. I'm not aware of any complaints we've ever had about any of this board's appointees. If we ever did receive a complaint, I think we need to address it, we need to resolve it, and we need to move on. And if we ever receive a complaint about any member of this board, I think it should be handled the exact same way. I think that part of good government is robust debate, and I will never silence my colleagues. I think that I will always allow points of personal privilege when requested, and I will always work to make sure that I conduct these meetings as professionally as possible. And for as long as I'm sitting in this chair, my expectation is that my colleagues will do the same. So that's all I have to say about that. Selectman Archinsky, would you like to speak again?
Yes, first I'd like to set the record straight because Mr. Dracut has made it a point that he thinks that this whole thing is all about me not becoming the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, when he knows that I did not ask him for his support to be the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I did not ask Jennifer. I did not ask you. In fact, I asked Heather not to nominate me for the chairman of the board.
Absolutely correct, right there. Absolutely. Here's a person that wants, she claims she's going that out of good, robust debate, but yet she stifles debate, right?
Absolutely.
Stifles debate.
Absolutely.
Now, I think Tony was more gentlemanly than I would have been, for sure, with that attack, but by him and her. You could see that the guns were blazing there. Robust debate. That just, you know, your colleague on the school committee, Renee Young, commented how, on our Facebook page, has commented how Joe Dracut went after the firefighters. He went after Justin George, and calling him a fraud, and a lot of other things that he did. By the way, we're going to talk a little bit about that case coming up in a few minutes.
Speaking of the firefighters, John, back in the days when they were protesting the contract a few years ago, remember how Joe Dracut got up and said, no matter how many times you protest, it doesn't mean a hill of beans to me or anybody else on the panel.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, it just baffles my mind how an alleged, and I say alleged, what do you call it? She is an HR person. How she couldn't want to have a code of conduct. I mean, isn't there handbooks in every business?
Of course, there's handbooks everywhere. It's boilerplate. It's standard operating procedure.
Right.
To have a code of conduct everywhere. So it's really, I don't actually understand what the debate is, why we're even having it, right?
Right.
It should be a no-brainer.
It's because they didn't propose it, and they're saying that Tony did it as a political tool, when in fact all Tony wanted to do is try to make sure that the decorum in that room was not used as a bashing, a battering ram. And that's what Joe Dracut and his ilk does. They want to be able to batter you and then say, oh, they talk about us and they talk about our spouses. And you get Ryan Janess, who was appointed to the DATV board by his wife, right? I mean, there's no conflict of interest there. It's ridiculous, the stuff that they've done.
I just find it chilling, the statement that she said that by implementing this code of conduct, that it would stifle people from volunteering, which says to me that she thinks that the citizens of Dracut have no code of conduct. They can't behave themselves.
Right.
No.
Imagine the insult on that.
It is very insulting.
And this comes from a person who wanted all of the committees, which we're going to get into, all the committees to have resumes sent. If you're a volunteer to one of the, the agricultural committee, they want you to have a resume. Those committees weren't formed to say that we need a doctor on them. There's only one committee in town that I know of that you need qualifications for, and you're on it.
The building committee. That's
the building committee. That's the only one in the charter that requires. You had a comment.
The whole thing is so terribly absurd. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how they can sit there meeting after meeting and just spew out the hypocrisy that they do. They sit there and they say they don't want to stifle debate and they don't want people attacking or judging one another, and then they do it during that very next meeting as their next comment. Yeah. And I don't understand how the voters of Dracut let them get away with that. Honestly, I blame the townspeople for that. I do, for not getting out there and voting.
Because the voters don't really...
They don't care about...
When you're talking about the voters that vote in the municipal election, and the guy who was famous for reciting this was Roger Daigle. He said only the special interests are interested in municipal elections. Yeah. And he's right. He was absolutely right. Only the special interests are interested in whether or not the budget passes at town meeting, right? And absolutely right, because if the budget doesn't pass, they don't get paid. If they're not there at a meeting, it's kind of like Gorbachev or Putin are hanging over you saying, you got to be at this meeting to pass the budget and if you don't support my budget, you're going to have hell to pay, right?
Well, you see that at town meeting when they're taking votes that I've seen Joe DeRocco many times when it's a standing vote, he turns around and starts looking at, okay, who's standing? As it goes to my earlier statement, they shouldn't forget who they work for.
Isn't it true, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay.
Isn't it true that the school department, and now the town is doing the same, puts out a call, reverse 911 call to all of the parents in the school system
alerting
that
them
there's
that there's a town meeting, yeah.
There's a town meeting.
There's a town
and
meeting.
we need you there to pass the budget, right?
Right, we need a quorum, that's
Right.
right.
So,
Well,
and
what I discovered too, because we didn't have quorum to start town meeting at the last town meeting, right? So I called a couple friends up, and I got one to come down. And she had never been to town meeting before. She's a registered voter. And she didn't really understand the amount of power that she had. She goes, exactly what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I said, you're voting on the entire town budget. So your trash can get collected, you can have a fire department and all of this. So, voter apathy and town meeting, that's a whole nother discussion too.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah.
you remember that one year where the body for town meeting voted to set the selectmen's salary at zero.
Yep.
And I know Joe DeRocco was very upset about that, and he said that the town owed him that respect.
Yeah, of
You owe me a tribute. It's
After
like,
the-
first of all, you're supposed to earn that respect.
After you already are on the dole, right, getting a retirement
Yeah,
from the town, you earned it, right?
I mean, my thought was, the town is sending you a message that, hey, we don't think we're getting the value of what we're paying you.
No, absolutely. Go ahead,
No,
Richard.
John, going off that only special interest vote in municipal elections, I agree with you 100% because that same coworker that Rebecca and I have, you were in a meeting today, so you didn't hear this. She has 2 dogs in town. They're both are little Yorkies. I think they're like 4 pounds each, right? And she gets a call from the town saying that not only does she have to pay the dog license of $25 per dog, but she also has to pay a kennel license of $50 per dog every year.
For what? A kennel license?
A kennel license.
She needs a kennel license because she has 2 dogs?
I guess so. That's what they're trying to tell her.
That's ridiculous.
So
That's ridiculous.
when the next municipal elections come around, guess who the first person's going to be
go.
at the precinct? Absolutely.
There you go, because she now has a special interest.
Absolutely,
Right.
and I am going to look into that because I do think that's absolutely
That's
absurd.
ridiculous.
There shouldn't be a fee for a dog, anyways. Because
There's many people that have many dogs. That
Oh yeah,
They don't
And
have a kennel. They're
I
not running
assumed
a
that the
kennel.
funds from the fees must have went into some sort of animal care, perhaps animal control or something.
Probably.
And I reached out to somebody who deals with the finances in town, and they said, no, it just goes into the general fund.
No.
So in that case, I think the fee should be completely abolished, but that's
Correct.
a conversation for a different time.
So we got another clip. Let's have another clip, and then we'll talk some more about that.
In fact, I asked Heather not to nominate me for the chairman of the board. So what Mr. DeRocco was trying to throw out there into the public space is that I'm mad that I didn't become the chairman of the board when, in fact, I didn't want to be the chairman of the board this time around. So I'd like to get that straight. Basically, I'm a little bit surprised that someone who purportedly works in HR doesn't like the fact that we're submitting a selectman code of conduct. Lawyers have some of the most stringent ethics and code of conduct rules and regulations. I mean, it's almost like saying, well, lawyers don't need one either. I don't get that, Jennifer. And Joe, I'm not going to argue with Mr. DeRocco. It does not surprise me that the one that needs the code of conduct the most is the one that's against it. Thank you.
So that's out of order. And as far as my HR, my professional history is not on the agenda here tonight, Mr. Archinsky.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Could I ask a couple more questions? I guess if you just called Tony out of order, but previously when Joe was going on and on about Jennifer and kind of disparaging Tony, that wasn't out of order.
Didn't she run on the fact that she was an HR person?
Yeah.
Allison Janess. And then she took Tony to task over that.
The coup de grace, you know, the final shot to the head.
Yeah.
It's like, only in Dracut, I suppose.
Yeah. First of all, when you are in politics at any level, right, your whole employment history is an open book. Once you put your name on the ballot, it's an open book. And to say it's not on the agenda, there we go again. There's another stifling of debate.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't say something that she liked. Subjects do not have to be on an agenda to be spoken about, right? They would have to be on the agenda to be acted on.
Well, that was all part of the topic, though. I mean,
Right,
yeah,
right.
that was all part of the topic
Exactly.
that Tony was debating. So it doesn't have to actually be the actual topic on the agenda.
No,
And
exactly.
speaking of codes of conduct for employment, teachers, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
There's a standard for teachers as well.
Yeah,
Conduct on becoming
exactly.
a teacher. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, most people who aren't involved in local elections and in politics would assume that a board of selectmen would involve a bunch of people who screw over the town behind closed doors. Only in Dracut would you have a board of selectmen who blast each other live on television. Only in Dracut.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
It's not unusual, though. That's not unusual in Dracut. It's been that way since Joe DeRocco's been on the board. And even before Joe DeRocco was on the board, I understand from what I've heard in the past, there were so many political fights, infighting, because there's just this little thing about their pieces of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's for instance like certain individuals run the school department, certain individuals run the DPW, certain individuals have it's all a piece of pie, and you don't cross over, right? Let's have another clip. Show another clip, Nate.
6 on the Council on Aging, is that what you said?
Yes.
On the Board of Directors for the Council on Aging. It's a moderator appointment.
Alrighty, next on the agenda, we have Lazy River Products, 155 Broadway Road, requesting renewal of special permit 19-7 and license to operate.
I don't even know what that clip was about. Did you? Did we do something there?
You might have missed
That might have been a wrong cut.
I think it's the
somewhere.
Gremlins.
The
We
Gremlins
can
are
blame
at
the
it again.
Gremlins.
But okay, there's another clip. Show that next clip. I think we're getting.
Just want to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly. You are indicating to me that Lieutenant Siemens is okay with being taken out of the NEMLAC SWAT team?
To my knowledge, yes. I gave him a letter on February 14th, and a week later, myself and Deputy Chartrand sat with him in my office for well over an hour, and he understood it. He wasn't happy about it, but he understood it, and he said that, you know, it is what it is.
And the only reason why I ask is because I know the history is, you know, his father was on the NEMLAC, and, you know, he's been on it since I left, at least since I've left, and I know that he loved it, so it was just surprising for me to hear that he was okay with it.
Right, but in that same vein that you were talking with earlier about the detectives, don't you think it's a good idea that we offer this opportunity to younger officers or someone else that's interested that hasn't had that opportunity in 15
I
years?
think it is cheap, but I don't think it's a good idea for somebody to matriculate all the way up to the highest rank that they can in the department and then be punished for that by being removed, you know, for budgetary reasons.
No one's punishing anybody, Mr. Ochinsky.
Okay.
No one's punishing Lieutenant Siemens.
Well, I thought I had read something about budgetary issues.
That's not a punishment. It's a reassignment for a financial issue. It's not a punishment. So
Right,
if you're
so-
classifying,
Right, so
Hold
when
on.
the money comes back,
Yeah.
then he should go back into the unit if
Well-
you're not punishing him.
Well, as I said, I'm not punishing him, and for you to classify it like that is inappropriate, okay? There's no punishment here. Lieutenant Siemens has been reassigned from the team so we can open up that door to have other people participate. That's the reason behind it, and for you to insinuate otherwise
No,
is false.
I'm not insinuating, Chief. I'm just asking you a very simple question. Is he okay with that? You told me he was, that there's nothing needs.
But then you continued and said, I'm punishing him. I'm not. And if you insinuate that, it's false.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for the chief?
I do have one more thing. At the event on July, we're going to be doing these children print ID kits. So what we do is we're going to be taking fingerprints of the kids or anybody that wants to participate, and in the kit is an area for a photograph, dental records, a hair sample, and once we take the fingerprints, we'll give this kit back to the parents so they can have something at the ready should, God forbid, somebody go missing or something happen, that they have updated information at the ready. So.
Little exchange right there was the exchange, what I call a fiery exchange between Tony Archinsky and the police chief over Jonathan Siemens being taken out of Nemlac. Was it Jonathan Siemens? Yeah. So tell us your impression on that.
I would just I hate to see that Drake is pulling out of Nemlac. I mean, it's a great organization. They provide, essentially, they're like a SWAT team.
Yeah.
That's regional, and all the regional municipalities each supply an officer or police officer, somebody who can work within Nemlac. Now, mind you, the officer from Dracut was kind of at the top of the heap at Nemlac. It's like, why would you pull out of that organization?
Yeah. Well, I don't think this town pulled out of the organization. It's just that they pulled him out of that.
I think he's the only one in the organization, though.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't think Dracut's supplying anybody else to the organization.
Wow. Well, you know that there's history behind that, and Tony said it, Jonathan's father was a member of NEMLAC back in the day, or a member of the Special Teams Forces or whatever. But to all of a sudden just pull it out, I just think it's more to this than meets the eye. And I think Tony was trying to say that, but being more of a
Could be. I mean, I know it's kind of like the intermunicipal agreements where, you know, mutual aid,
Yep.
that NEMLAC will always come to Dracut, even if we don't have somebody in there. But as far as I'm concerned, you should have somebody in the organization. It's like Lawrence providing Dracut mutual aid. You know, the fire trucks from Lawrence aren't coming here.
Well, God forbid, if there's ever a shooter incident in Dracut, who do you think they're going to go to? They're going to call NEMLAC, right?
Absolutely.
And
We've had a few. We just had a shooting last month in front of CardSmart.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
remember?
right.
It was the amateur rapper who was supposed to go on that night.
Oh,
and
yeah.
apparently got in a little shootout in front of CardSmart.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. I remember. Heidi. Is it Heidi?
Kambarowicz.
Yes.
She mentioned that. She had a lot on Facebook. We try to keep up with some of the Facebook stuff. You know, Denise Damaris is watching. She has several dogs. I wonder if she has to pay a kennel fee.
I don't know.
for
Why
it.
don't you reach out to us on Facebook and
Yeah,
let us know,
Denise.
And you know, but in terms of Tony and the police chief going back and forth,
Yeah.
I think it's terrible because they're both local heroes. They really are. You know, veteran. Tony was a veteran and a policeman.
The only veteran on the Board of Selectmen, by the way.
That's right. And the police chief, obviously being the police chief, you know, like I said, they're both heroes, and it's terrible to see them argue like that. You know, I wish they could sit down and discuss something, and I hope they do before.
Well, I would.
A cup of coffee
If I
can
were
go a
Tony, I would have been a little bit more upset with the chief over that. And I don't have any axes to grind with Chief Buck.
Not at all.
No, not at all. I think he's trying to do a good job, but it's just a difference of opinion. But to push back like that and more or less hover over a sitting Board of Selectmen, I was really uncomfortable with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's certainly, you know, Chief Bartlett was taking offense to some things that Tony was saying. You know, a code of conduct would have probably helped in this situation.
Yep, exactly. So we've gotten through all of that, and now I wanted to talk a little bit about Richardson Farm and what's going on with the housing that has been supposedly for seniors that's been on the books here for a while now. Do you have any idea? You're on that?
To be honest, yeah, I'm on the billing committee that for the town.
Yeah.
And so much like the veteran housing that went into the town hall annex, the building committee was there kind of overseeing some of the budgetary stuff,
Right.
and dispersing the funds coming from the town. I imagine the same thing will happen with the Richardson housing project, but I have not heard anything about that.
Have you heard anything on that?
No, I haven't heard anything,
Richard?
John.
Not at all.
So we should
No.
do a little bit of research on where that stands. Richard? We're going
There's the next assignment.
We're going to get the dog on it. I also have I have another assignment for you that I'd like you to
Oh,
look
God.
into. tax cheats and frauds in Dracut.
Okay.
I'm going to ask that you try to get a FOIA request for anyone that currently is on the tax rolls that is delinquent in taxes.
Okay.
But we also wanted to talk about, we're going to do a little investigation into these people who have vehicles in the town, that live in the town, store them in the town, but register them in another state.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Now, there are people who have boats. If you recall, John Kerry some years ago had a boat that he had registered in Massachusetts, a yacht that he had registered in Massachusetts, and he took it out of Massachusetts and went to Rhode Island, where the taxes were cheaper.
I remember that.
Right?
Yes.
And there's a couple of people in Dracut that have big RVs and big trucks and vehicles, and don't register them in Massachusetts, register them out in either Montana or Idaho or something like that, because there's either no tax on it or it's cheaper. But they want to claim they live here and they vote here. So we want to do a little bit of a research on that.
Sounds interesting.
All right? So we'll get into that. What's with the new signs? Have you seen the new signs that are
Yes.
popping up? What's your impression of them?
Well, they're part of the Economic Development Committee, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm on the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah.
I just got appointed a couple months ago.
Okay.
And my understanding is they're supposed to designate business districts in town. And that's where the confusion is, because they're not designating, people are used to their neighborhoods, right? And they're designating, non-traditional areas, right? Because we have the Lakeview district, and that's not a typical neighborhood.
Right.
Right?
Phil made that comment over coffee.
Right, there's no such thing as the Lakeview district.
No,
right?
Lakeview Ave actually is in the Navy Yard in Collinsville.
In Collinsville, that's right.
So longtime members of the community that identify those as neighborhood communities,
Exactly.
right, are confused.
Are confused, that's right.
They just started cropping up, and we got a couple of messages through
Yeah.
Facebook wondering what that was all about. Did you see them?
Well, I didn't see the messages themselves, but one question I do have about them is if you look on the back of them, there's a QR code to scan, and I guess it pulls up information. I'll have to try it out. But it's like on the side of Lakeview where there's no sidewalk. There's not even a breakdown lane. So I don't understand what a car is supposed to do. Stop, pull over in the middle of traffic, and get out and scan a QR code?
Oh, I didn't know about the QR code, but
That's interesting.
Yeah, I had
don't
seen
know.
one on Bridge Street up by Bridgewood Plaza, so the northern end. And I think it was Bridge Street District or something like that. But of
Yeah.
course, Bridge Street is a fairly long area.
Right.
And
Yep.
it's interspersed with businesses and residents. But when I saw it, because the manipulation of the images is that you can kind of read 38 in there, for Route 38.
Right.
And it just brought back to my memory the little joke that used to be called the 38th parallel. And that split the town in half.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
And it does, it really does.
it does, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So what is the story that's coming out of the Dracut Board of Selectmen? I hear there's a settlement on the David Chartrand case. Do you remember the David Chartrand case where he's suing the town for something that they did to him? Do you remember that case?
That was a long time.
Long time ago.
It's been going on for quite
Right.
some time.
And I've been getting some calls on it, and I guess it's coming up at a executive session meeting coming up on the 19th. But what's irritating people is that these settlements are usually monetary, and they have other things ongoing, like moving forward, not having any retribution towards him personally in his job or whatever.
Well, that's difficult to drink it, though.
Yeah, but now they have this non-disclosure stuff. How do you feel, Richard, about signing off on a settlement and then you can't talk about it?
That's ridiculous.
taxpayer dollars, right?
Exactly. What's done is done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once you wrap something up like that, and especially where it's taxpayers' dollars, I think you not only do you have a right to speak about it, but it's your duty to speak about it.
And there's no law, Rebecca, that says that you have to have a non-disclosure. It's just part of the settlement that the town agrees to not discuss it, and the person receiving the settlement, agrees to not.
Right.
But as a member of a board that has to vote on it, would you vote for a non-disclosure?
That's an interesting question, John.
Because I know
I'm
that
not-
was a question that was
Yeah.
asked by several unions when candidates were going for endorsements.
Right, and I'm going to say that I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I guess it would depend upon the situation that's in front of me, right? So, and as my president Lincoln always said, my policy is to have no policy. Because if I sit here and say to you, yes, I would never agree to a non-disclosure, and then I have a situation in front of me and I say, I probably should vote for a non-disclosure, and I'm breaking something that I've agreed to.
What about you, Phil? As a
know?
candidate, I
So-
know you've been asked that question.
Yeah, I was very,
know.
very plain to say, the sunlight is the best disinfectant. I mean,
Correct.
if the town is looking for non-disclosure, then the town is saying, hey, we don't want to say mea culpa.
Right, exactly.
And, you know, sometimes the best thing is to say, yes, we as a town did something wrong.
Right. Well, my gut is to say yes to transparency, but you never know what's going to come up in front of you. Well, that's the only problem. So you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into a.
But if you're going to live by guidelines, you have
You
to
know.
live by guidelines.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have left jobs without another job because I set a guideline for myself, and when the company I was working for broke that guideline, it's like, well, here comes, putting the money where the mouth is. And I said I would leave if that happened, and like, well, I have to leave.
Right, but I still say, right, that you don't want to always pigeonhole yourself, right, when it comes time to have to make a decision, right? When you're
For some, that's
when you're in a, and that's not to say you're going to waffle, because I do agree with transparency, but you don't know what the future is going to bring. Then you're going to say, well, I've broken my promise in saying that I want to be transparent, and then I have a situation in front of me that says, well,
But, I mean,
the best decision for this situation is
I don't
a
think-
non-disclosure.
Yeah, but I don't think it's pigeonholing.
You
It's living up to the code that you set, the rules that you set for yourself.
So
All
I
right.
think you
Maybe
can
that's the
split-
wrong term.
I think you can split the hair on
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And you could say that I would do a non-disclosure for the mea culpas.
Right.
But I wouldn't do a non-disclosure when it comes to how much taxpayer dollars were paid out. That would be something that I
Oh,
would.
well, yeah, something like that. Okay,
that would be
that's fair.
a stand I would take.
Okay.
Because I believe that the people who pay the bills deserve to know what we're paying off.
Well, yeah, I
on
would
the
agree with
settlement.
that. Yes,
You
I
know,
would agree with that. They should know how much you're paying out.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
in that
So
regard, yes.
That's, I think, one of the biggest parts of in it for me. And I agree with Phil on the thing that, maybe once in a while the town or some entity should say, hey, I screwed up. We all do.
Yeah.
It can be difficult living with a code if you want to certainly live to that code. I mean,
Absolutely.
it comes to points where you say, hey, I've got to walk the
It's
walk
kind of
here.
like the settlement with the AG's office over the procurement. You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
Well, because the whole thing was spurred on by Joe DeRocco, whose friends weren't getting taken care of. So he was ripped off about it, that his friends weren't getting non-bidding contracts or non-bidding jobs, and they weren't getting it, and he was upset because they weren't getting it, and he disclosed that the procurement.
Yep.
You were part of it. So he didn't want to say that he was wrong, right? So there'll be a non-disclosure in that. Say, there's another lawsuit that's in the process of being deposed, and that's the Justin George lawsuit, the firefighter that was lambasted for standing up at a town meeting and trying to do what was right for members of the military that were serving in Iraq, he being one of them, should have been paid 100% of their salary while they were over in Iraq. No, the town didn't accept that under Duggan, and Duggan was fighting that. And of course, they went through a whole thing. They called him all kinds of names. They put him through hell, and he's currently still going through hell. And now the depositions are in process. So I'm told from a little birdie that the depositions are very telling.
I would imagine they are.
They are, and I want people to stay tuned because this affects a lot of people, both at the unions in the fire and the police and any one of the unions where there's political retribution against you for standing up at a town meeting as a citizen, not as an employee of the town, as a citizen, and proposing that the town do accept a law that was already on the books, allowing veterans to be paid. I mean, who doesn't do that?
You know, John, it's ridiculous. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie states that in order to be a good leader in this circumstance, town municipalities, you always have to be able to admit when you are wrong, because that is how you gain respect. And that is something the town hasn't done in a long time, and it's no wonder why people don't respect the town.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think about Dracut not having fireworks?
I think it's too bad.
It's a sad thing.
It is a sad thing because we've had them for years. You know.
Do you know we used to have concerts at the gazebo?
At the gazebo down at Anglesby.
And
yeah.
because the political forces didn't want to expend any more time on it, that was pushed aside. They used to have the fireworks displays all the time. You know, it's a rite of passage for Independence Day to have fireworks. What did you feel about that, being a longtime member of the community?
You know, if that was known when the town was voting for the money for the field may not have passed.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
there's just always an excuse that's given to not do something and not a solution to try to get it done. Why can Lowell have fireworks in the middle of a city, albeit on the water, but the ambers fly everywhere, right?
You know, John, I always get backlash for saying it, but I was against that damn turf field from the start.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be a complete waste of money. And let me ask you something. And this might be ignorant because I don't know too much about turf fields, but isn't there such thing as a fireproof tarp?
Yes.
That we could buy for the field.
Yes.
And God forbid a few ambers land on the field and burn some of the plastic grass or whatever you want to call it. Wasn't the whole reason of buying a turf field is because it was easy to maintain, because you can just cut out little squares and replace them?
I don't know much about that, but
That's an interesting question, a fireproof tarp. Because what I've been told, because I'm on the school committee, is that it has to do with the warranty on the turf in the embers. But I'll look into that. Because no one's brought that up as a possible solution.
Nobody has brought that up?
Not to
Really?
me.
I thought about that on day one. I can't believe nobody has thought of that.
Well, at least not to me. I'm not in all the conversations.
Of course you're not. You know.
No, you're not in the loop. You don't play ball.
Oh, well.
No.
You know, she's new and they're holding her at bay, but they're finding out that she can stand up for herself.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Superstar of the school committee. Absolutely.
So, let's talk a little bit about the process for making appointments to town committees, right? Isn't that something that Allison Jeunesse recently brought up, that she wanted resumes to be submitted?
Yep.
And what do resumes do? What does it do? It stifles people from wanting to be involved.
Right. So now if you have a resident who, you know, has, if you want to call it a regular job, and they don't have a resume, and then I want to volunteer, it's like, well, I don't have a resume, so I can't volunteer.
Right. And there's many boards that are open, that have openings, and you want to talk about stifling participation in town government. That's a way of doing it. But you see, the resume is a way of saying, well, we can sit down and now pick apart your resume and say, we don't want you because of, in the guise of being a political appointment, right?
You know, John, as somebody who does so much volunteering in town, I find it disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, as you know, we did the World War I rededication committee with Hovey Square, and as I said last time we discussed this, if I needed to submit a resume or something of that sort to be able to head a committee like that, I wouldn't have gotten it.
You were 17 years old.
Exactly.
16
I had
years
no
old.
experience, and that monument would still be as green as the Statue of Liberty.
Right, and now it's bright and shiny. And it's got a bench
and we did it
out
as a
front.
team, and none of us had the proper experience for it.
Right.
But we pulled together and we did it.
Right. And there was pushback on that.
Oh, absolutely
They really
there
didn't
was.
want to do anything with that until we made sure.
The higher powers didn't, but I actually, believe it or not, did get fantastic cooperation with Ann Vandal and the DPW. So again, I'm grateful for them, but I'm sure the higher powers had a few things to say about that.
So we had a clip, I think that was the clip that went earlier, that showed something about the board openings. Do you know how many board openings there are right now, Phil?
Oh, there's at least a half dozen, if not more,
Right.
from my knowledge.
Now, I recently applied to go on the Finance Committee. Now, I knew they weren't going to put me on the Finance Committee, and I got a nice letter back from the clerk. I didn't get it from the moderator, which I thought he should have responded, but I get it. So he's saying that the board was filled, but there's only 7 members of that board, and the charter calls for 9.
I believe the charter calls, there's a little mix-up there, and the charter calls for 7 or 9.
Or 9.
It actually specifically says 7 or 9.
Yeah, so.
So, I mean, it's, you would think the last time that they kind of went through the charter and fixed up a lot of these little,
Well, you won't have
screw-ups
a
that they were taking
real
care of
charter
that.
review until Joe DeRocco is gone. and
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Old
won't.
school people are
So
gone.
7 or 9, what about 8? You can't have 8?
Well, apparently not.
Because it's 7 or 9.
You shouldn't have an even number.
No, of course not, because that leads, exactly, it can lead to a tie.
But that's something to be told about, to be talked about in the future. I'm going to be looking into some other committees that are.
Well, I mean, so speaking of committees, so there is an ad hoc committee formed for zoning bylaw review.
Right.
First of all, an ad hoc committee is formed for a very short time, and
Right.
zoning bylaw review, by all accounts, should take 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah.
To do it properly.
Right.
But Allison Janessa is going to force it through.
Right.
But one of the big issues I have with that is that it's only the only members on this committee are on town committees. So you have 2 members from the planning board, 2 members from the ZBA, a member from the Board of Health, and a member from the Board of Selectmen.
So Ed.
So just think of it. Reagan's 9 words to be afraid of.
Yeah.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
you.
Likewise,
Exactly.
these are people who are saying they're going to solve the problem when these people are the problem.
That's right. That's right. So, Richard, we had a little issue coming up recently that the Dracut Water Supply District increased the water rates by 5%. Did you know that?
No, I
Are
didn't
you
know.
in the water district?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Okay, you're in the water district.
I am.
And did you know that your rates go up July 1st?
I have not. I don't believe I've seen it yet.
Yeah, you'll see it. And the reasoning behind it is the additional funds created by the rate increase, this isn't the first time they've said this, will be used for infrastructure improvements to the water system.
Oh.
But yet,
Wow.
they
Nice
have
generic term.
millions of dollars in reserve. Millions. But they're going to be building a treatment plant, so that's
Yes.
why they want more money. But is there any agency alive, folks, that can say, we have enough money? Is there any agency?
No, not at all.
No, it's never going to happen, right?
That's terrible.
And that's why the taxpayer gets disgusted.
You said it's 5%?
5%.
And that's in the midst of a recession. I'd like to see how high it would be during a depression.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they just recently, not too long ago, maybe 10 years ago, they reduced the amount.
Yes, the minimum usage.
Minimum usage, which was what? I don't even remember what the
I forget what the
figures
numbers
were.
are, but they dropped that number by, I think, 10% or something like that.
Instead of giving a rate hike,
They reduced your minimum usage so they can charge you after you go over that.
Unbelievable.
So, Richard and
Yeah.
Rebecca, recently teachers were let go.
Yes.
What's the story behind that? We have about 9 minutes.
So apparently there were 3, I believe it was 3 teachers at the high school who were let go. One of them reached out to me specifically after I graduated. And apparently if you're a teacher for 3 years or less, they can let you go without giving you a specific reason. And I had an extensive talk with Rebecca about this. And, personally, I think that's wrong. Even though they can let you go without giving you an actual reason, and usually there obviously is, everyone has the right to know why they're, losing their
calling from a person named Bill, just to have a friendly question. Why doesn't the town take over the water department?
That's a good.
Oh.
We just had a caller call in and leave a message. Why doesn't the town take over the water department? Well, first of all, I wouldn't want the town to take over the water department, the water supply district. I would like it reversed, and the water supply district take over the town.
Kenwood
because I think it's much more efficiently run down at Dracut Water Supply District. I'm a big conservative when it comes to dollars being spent, and I don't like that they want more money because when they have so much money in reserve. So I'll always battle that. But I think that the town taking over the water district would be a big mistake. And the reason that the Dracut Water Supply District doesn't take over the town is because the town will never agree to supplant funds to correct some old pipelines.
Yeah.
The pipelines in the Dracut Kenwood district are really aged, and in the water district, the water supply district, most of them have been replaced, and they're newer, and it's a very costly undertaking, and the town should take care of the water pipes first before the district takes it over.
Of course.
But that was a good question. So Rebecca, we talked briefly about that piece of that 3-year.
That's right, yeah. So under state law, teachers are at-will employees for 3 years. You don't have professional status.
Right.
So school districts can let you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes the underlying stuff that happens
Yeah.
It's probably political most of the time.
Well, sometimes it's political.
Not usually, it could be. It's not you. I've worked in education for a long time, Richard. It's not usually political, from my experience. Usually, there's something has happened with the performance of the teacher.
Right.
So I find it hard to believe that that they didn't actually know that there was something that the administration wasn't happy with.
Could
Either
it be
through
that somebody was using a lot of their vacation or sick time?
Exactly. It could be, or they were late every day.
Even if there is an obvious reason, I think the person deserves at least the respect of having it printed on a piece of paper.
Well,
I don't understand the big deal with that.
They still get evaluations, though.
Okay, so we're getting into a rapid fire. We're down to 6 minutes.
No.
So the construction on the traffic problem at the high school, the complex.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
They're putting in curbing and doing a lot of landscaping and moving the pavement around. I think it will help quite a bit.
It will.
I think the main purpose is essentially to get traffic off of Lakeview Ave as it stacks up to pick up kids at the Inglesby. So the way that they have it, the traffic routed with the new plan, it brings the buses into the Inglesby in a separate location. It brings the parents further into the complex so they can stack up on Complex Road.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and they've already,
yes,
I see they're lining up equipment.
Yeah,
correct.
They're supposed to be finished before the school year starts.
Well, they're supposed to. That's going to be a tight. That's going to be a tight schedule.
It is. It's aggressive.
So, moving on to state and national news, I want to wish Colleen Gary a happy birthday. She's got a birthday coming up.
Oh, happy birthday.
And she's going to be. I heard the other day that she's going to be having a fundraiser. And she should thank George Bogue for being a candidate so that she could have a fundraising event, which is a good thing.
Yep.
And I'm going to reach out to Colleen and see if she'll come on the show and talk about her re-election campaign, because that is starting to heat up.
It seems to me somebody who complains about a person who runs for an office and loses and then runs again.
Oh, didn't he whack you for that reason?
It seems somewhat hypocritical.
Yeah, and he's similar. He has done it a number of times, and he doesn't even come close.
No.
He's not even in the ballpark when his name on the. Who would vote for him anyways? Hey, Joe Biden's administration has sent 5 million gallons from the strategic reserve to China.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
Absolutely. I had a clip that I sent, but we're not going to be able to show it because we're running out of time. But I'll show it next time about the strategic reserve.
Well, I think the Democrats are running out of time too, but
yeah,
we'll
exactly.
see in November.
It seems like the best of both worlds for China, because they'll get the gas from us, and then they can buy Putin's oil cheap because he can't sell it anywhere else but China.
Exactly. Now, Rebecca, we talk about the Supreme Court having overturned Roe.
Uh-oh.
Now, I think most people in America are for a woman's right to choose, just as most people are for anybody's right to decide what happens to their own bodies, right? But I think there are some lines in the sand. And one of the lines for me, I've always been a right to choose advocate, but the line in the sand is with special circumstances, and certainly not after 15 weeks. What's your feel on it?
Yeah, I think, I do think there should be special circumstances. I'm not pro-abortion. Right? That's how people tend to make people out who say that they're pro-choice. But
you will agree that most Democrats are staunch abortionists.
I don't know.
Pro-abortionists.
I don't know if I'd go there, John. You know, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to speak for myself. All right,
Okay.
I'm not going to speak in generalities
Good
like
for
that.
you.
I'm going to speak for myself, and I am pro-choice. I'm very sad to see that Roe was overturned.
But don't you believe that as a strict constitutionalist, Richard, that the Republican Party and Republicans, particularly Trump, put in Supreme Court justices that were strict
So they would uphold the Constitution, exactly.
Right.
You know, you
So
consider
where
yourself.
in the Constitution is it a right to have an abortion?
There's not, you know.
It's not.
I know you consider yourself
They're going down the road.
privacy. I know the
You're
road of
go-
privacy. I know.
Yeah, you guys are going down a slippery slope here with the right to privacy because
That's not even true.
That is most certainly true.
No, it isn't even true.
Really?
It isn't true because
did you read what Justice
you
Tom-
have the doctor telling you.
Justice
your party,
Thomas,
Rebecca.
Justice Thomas has already said he wants to re-examine Griswold, right? He wants to re-examine contraception, same-sex marriage.
No, he
all
never
of that.
said contraception.
Yes,
That's
he,
not
yes,
in
he
that.
did. Yes,
It's
he
not.
most certainly
It's
did.
not.
Ladies and
It's a
gentlemen,
Democratic-
this will continue at our after party.
This is the talking point of the Democrats.
No,
right?
it's not.
Right?
The only thing I'm getting, listening to the news regarding the whole abortion issue is that I'm almost hearing from some of the leaders on the far left that, hey, we're going to get this back, and as a matter of fact, we're going to make sure that every woman in this country has an abortion.
Right.
Almost like we're going to
Exactly.
force you to have an abortion. It's like, oh,
You know,
come on.
I understand how it can be seen as a slippery slope, and for the most part, I agree it can be a slippery slope. But the Supreme Court has the duty to uphold the Constitution, no matter whether the opinion is popular or not. You know, that's why they're supposed to be shielded from politics.
What about due process?
Well, due process starts at the states.
No, it
It
doesn't. It
starts at
starts
the
with the
states.
14th Amendment, John.
Well, all
Come
right.
on.
We'll continue this debate. At
Although we'll
another
have to
time.
agree that life starts at conception.
I believe that life starts.
You know,
when
and
there's
just to
why
get,
you
I know
need me on
you
the
consider
show.
yourself pro-choice with exceptions. I consider myself pro-life with the exceptions of rape and if the
Incest.
mother has a
medical or
chance of dying. And
Yeah. Yeah.
But
inflated.
unfortunately, because of the Supreme Court, now many women don't have that option in several states.
And that's up to the state. You know, you keep saying, you've told me in private that you support the tyranny of the majority, and if the majority of people in a state decide that they do not want abortions, then that is the destiny of that state.
Yeah, because I'm getting kind of sick of the tyranny of the minority trying to impose their will on
You're
me.
finally getting what you want. The tyranny of the majority. If the majority in a state rules they don't want abortion, that's the destiny of the state. That's what the majority
Folks, we're
of
going
people
to continue this at
want.
another
Well, they
day.
can do this at the
We're
next
down
episode.
to the
Oh,
last
yeah.
2 seconds. This was a great debate at the end here, and we look forward to more robust debate on this and other issues. And I just wanted to let Richard close the show out.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning into What's Happening Dracut. And remember, when it's Wednesday and it's 6:30, it's What's Happening Dracut. Good night, everybody.